Hello and welcome to Anderson Community Television. This is Carol Donahue, your host. The program is called At Your Service, and our guest today is Officer Bob Getke from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. Welcome to the program.
Good to be here, thanks.
Yes, and today I think we're going to talk about something that's really been in the papers and people have been talking about, and that's cyberbullying.
Yep.
Why don't you explain to our audience just what exactly that is?
Cyberbullying is really a situation where it's bullying, except the use of electronic technology, emails, texting,
Facebook,
Facebook, using that stuff, and a lot of it has to do with sending pictures, spreading rumors, and just being mean and nasty to somebody. And it can even come to threatening people too over using that technology.
And technology is the difference between cyberbullying and just regular bullying.
Yeah, regular bullying, you know who it is. You can point out it's in the school setting. It's usually you can point out if we were to pull up pictures or if you were in a group behind a glass wall where they couldn't see you, but you could put them in a room. You could say, yeah, that person is bullying me. Whereas in cyberbullying, you may not necessarily know who is bullying you because sometimes they can use a fake name or they can just send an anonymous text or email that you don't know who that is.
Now, as a parent or a grandparent, what would be the signs that your child may be bullied?
Some of the signs that you're being bullied would be withdrawal, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to participate in extracurricular or social activities, like going to dances and stuff like that. Grades can be a factor. And if a kid is exhibiting signs of low self-esteem because of it, those are some indicators that, hey, my kid, there's something ain't right. Usually when they're outgoing and then all of a sudden that changes, those can be the indicators.
What might be signs that your child might be the one doing the bullying?
That is a good question. That can range from the kid being overly aggressive, getting frustrated and acting out angrily. And that one's a little bit more difficult too because of the fact that a lot of times when I run into that situation, the kids who are identified as being the bully will then say that, well, no, I'm just returning what I'm getting, and they're claiming that the other kid is bullying them.
Now, does this start in grade school?
Oh, yeah, it can start anywhere in the second grade on up, where kids can bully each other. Some of that is, I hate to say it, but sometimes it's learned from parents.
Really?
When they see how their parents act and stuff like that. Now, I'm not a professional on it, but sometimes that's what I'll see when I'm dealing with parents and students in a situation like that.
Do you see with parents now that they just give full reign of and access to these sites to their children, or do they regulate that, and do they have the password so that they can go in and check?
A lot of times, parents don't know what their kids are doing online and on their smartphones. And this is I'm kind of being personal here, but some parents will give their kids smartphones and not restrict the access of them. My philosophy is, and every parent's different. My philosophy is I don't think that there's any reason for anyone under the age of 18 really to have access to being able to send photos and stuff like that. And you can restrict a lot of things on cell phone, like these smartphones, if your kid has smartphones, you can restrict a lot of stuff, and parents just don't do it. And a key factor that you brought up is the fact that they need to parents should know what their passwords are, their username and passwords are, especially in Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, whatever you're in, whatever your social media your kid is involved in, you should have access to that. And occasionally check it to see what they're doing, because too many times I'll run into a situation where I'll have parents will bring in stuff that was copied on Facebook, and we'll look through it, and the parents will see it and they'll be like, oh my, I didn't know that this was going on. Now some parents, those parents that do check and do follow their kids, now they're the ones who usually bring it to our attention.
Now, Bob, what should a parent do if they discover their child is being bullied?
One of the first things I would do if it's their child, they should let the school know. Because if it's happening there, it's also happening at school, probably. And the next thing you can do is block the person, especially on Facebook and the other sites. You can block them. Even on your cell phone or smartphones, you can block that person's incoming calls or whatever. You can block and then report to the either the cell phone provider, your internet provider. Send
really?
send them a message in Facebook. Send them a message saying that this person is doing this, and then they can get them removed from Facebook. The problem with that, the only problem you can run into is when we have a person who can make up a fake name.
How do you identify them then?
Exactly. How do you identify them? And, I can make about 7 or 8 fake profiles and be able to get through. And each time, I can continue to change it. Then it becomes a little more difficult, and then you would probably need to get an IP address, which every computer has, and then the Facebook company may be able to, if they can localize it to one IP address for that computer, then they can shut them down, even if there's if the person has like multiple anonymous accounts or fake accounts. So.
Now, as far as you know, does the Forest Hill School District have a policy?
Yes. State law, there is a new state law that just went into effect, I believe, in November, that they're required to, if a student comes forward, that there's paperwork that needs to be filled out and an investigation that is done. But that's from the administrative standpoint, from the teachers to the assistant principal to the principal. It's something that we're not really involved in unless it rises to some type of level of a criminal offense.
If a child has been accused of bullying and it's proven to be true, does that go on any kind of a juvenile record or?
With the school, no. There's no criminal record. It's just part of when I said that about it's Ohio law, it's under the Ohio school law. Don't know that it's like 3133 is the section of the Ohio Revised Code dealing with school law. That doesn't fall under the criminal code, that type.
I see. When a child is being bullied, I think there's some years there, especially in junior high, where they might be reluctant to go to a parent to tell them because it might make them look bad, worse in their eye, to see their parents get involved. Do you find that the case where they keep that to themselves and hold it in? Yeah,
because sometimes to them that it's a humiliating thing, and the less people that know about it, that's why they don't want people to know that this is happening to me and it's humiliating, and they don't want other people to know. The other part of it is that, and this is what I get a lot of, is it's just worse. If
Makes
I
it
try
worse.
to report it, it makes it worse. That they get more angry and they get more upset, or the bullying just gets more harsh, and and that's the unfortunate part. And that's where we can help, but we still need to know. So
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea when the family's sitting around the kitchen table having dinner, that be discussed and maybe presented to a child, like maybe it's not happening to you, but it could be happening to someone you know, and if that be the case, then maybe you should then take the extra step and report it.
yeah.
Does that happen sometimes with people?
Yes. One of the biggest things that is helpful is when other students who aren't being bullied but who witness it. But you hit on a very good thing with, peer pressure, and the fact that especially in the teenage years, that is sometimes very difficult for a kid to come forward and stand up for another kid, or let a teacher know that, hey, this is what I observed, because then they feel like they're going to be a target. But one of the things that has happened is there are kids out there who are willing to stand up for less fortunate kids, or kids who are unfortunately in being bullied, and they will come forward and they will help us out. And I really applaud those young people who want to stand up for the right thing. And I just wish there were more of them.
And do you have programs, or do you go into the schools and talk to the kids?
I will talk to them about bullying, but I will mainly go into, from the criminal standpoint, from the Ohio Revised Code, where the Ohio Revised Code stands on it, because cyberbullying, the use of technology, falls under the telecommunications harassment. And that is the use of any electronic device to harass, and that's the only time harassment is used. I'll have parents who will come to me and say, well, this kid is harassing my kid at school, and unfortunately, there is no Ohio law about just calling a kid names and stuff like that, except for in telecommunications harassment. Repeated contact with the person after that person has told you to stop contacting them. Once you send them another message, call them, text them, email them after they've asked you to stop, constitutes telecommunications harassment. Any threatening communication, or even if you just call or leave a message and it's anonymous, you do not identify yourself, all falls under the telecommunications harassment.
I see. Now, if someone were to take that a little bit further and perhaps put out there a picture that could be deemed to be pornographic, doesn't that then take this to a whole other level?
Yes, especially if it's a juvenile. Then it becomes under the sexting law, which I won't go into the whole name because it's very long and drawn out, but it's basically the sexting law. And if there's a juvenile who's posed in the nude, if you're in possession or you send it, you're looking at a very serious felony charge there under the Ohio Revised Code. It's a felony of the second degree, and you're looking at some severe repercussions as a sex offender. And one of the things that I'll tell the kids when I talk about this is that, under that section, with it being a felony too, you are looking at being a registered sex offender for 10 years. And I'll tell them, I says, how does that look on a college application?
Exactly. Now, if someone receives that, they don't initiate it, they look at it, and then they forward it, are they just as guilty as the one who sent it?
If they are forwarding it to someone other than a parent and informing a parent or a teacher, yes.
They are
Yeah,
equally.
you are an equal partner in that. One of the problems that I have with that is that, and this is a sticky point in this, that I've had talks with the prosecutor's office, and that is that one of the issues that we run into is the kids will take pictures of themselves
I see.
and then send it out. And it makes a unique situation where the victim is also the offender.
I see.
And one of the problems we have to run into, well, since your kid took the picture of themselves and they started this, we can go after the other people that she sent it to or he sent it to, but then we would have to arrest them because they were the ones that started it.
I see.
You know, so that makes it a very tricky situation for us sometimes.
With your experience, do you see more the cyberbullying affecting high school students, grade school, or just across all levels?
It happens mostly with the middle schoolers and the early high school sophomores. Freshman, sophomore is where I see the most of the cyberbullying issues. Now, I did have one situation where, and I felt for this young man, it was a very difficult situation, which, I mean, he said this was going on all the way up to his senior year. And he, like we talked about, he was quiet about it. No one knew about it until a parent stumbled upon the harassment. And it was voice messages that he had received. And they made a religious remark in the harassment. We were able to identify who it was. And additionally, if you make any remark, derogatory or threatening remarks based on race, color, religion,
Protective classes.
then it becomes ethnic intimidation, and that's a felony. And I did end up arresting one of the perpetrators with the ethnic intimidation for what he had said in the telephone conversation. And what it was is he had left a voice message. So.
Wow. Well, it just seems like I don't think the kids realize, going to like the Facebook situation, what they put on there is there for almost forever.
Yep.
So when they get out of college and an employer could go search Facebook and just maybe discover some things that might not be too flattering.
Well, and from what I understand, a lot of employers are requesting
Yes.
your Facebook username and password before they'll hire you so that they can look and see what you're doing.
It's something to be taken very seriously.
Yes, it
and
is.
It's a time in your life where you're not looking at it that way. You think now is just the moment, and you don't think ahead, but it's something to be considered. Well, about a month or so ago, you probably heard on the news, we all did, about the Notre Dame football player. And, did he know about it? Didn't he know about it? But that could be almost perceived as cyberbullying if he didn't know.
If he truly did not know and was being sucked in by whoever was perpetrating the hoax, by all means, that would fall under the cyberbullying. It would also fall under the telecommunications harassment, if not worse.
Oh, my.
So,
Something to think about. What is the one rule you think people should follow?
one of the things that I'll end with the kids, especially when we talk about this, and it's just a basic rule. Treat other people the way you would want them to treat you. Would you want somebody to say that you're ugly, you're disgusting, you're this, you're that? No. I don't think anybody wants to hear that. And you don't want to hear it. So, and this is what I'll tell the kids is if you don't want to hear it, what gives you the right to then say that about somebody else? And the kids usually are sitting there, and I'll say, that's right. You have no right to say anything like that. Especially if it's hurtful and stuff like that, and you're just doing it to be mean. Now, there are times when you do have to tell people things, but you can do it in a respectful and constructive way. This is not constructive, this is destructive. And that's what I'm basically getting at when I tell them that, treat others the way you would want them to treat you. And that's the basic bottom line.
And don't you think, too, there should be guidelines maybe for parents, especially when the kids are a certain age? Maybe it's good to keep that computer in a common area,
Yep.
not in a bedroom.
Exactly. To keep it out in the open, And the only other thing is to let parents take your kids, cell phone, smartphone, check it occasionally. Unfortunately, my daughter, she knows too well. Boy, she's going to be upset that I mentioned her on this.
I won't tell her.
But yeah, I mean, she knows full well that at any time I can take her phone and look at it. She can't hide anything from me. If she wants to have privileges and things, and she wants to be able to do things, fun things, on the weekends and stuff like that, then she gives that up. And she's well aware of it, and so far, knock on wood, she's been pretty good about it. So.
I think with every perk and privilege there comes a responsibility, and that's the big lesson to learn in that age.
Exactly.
In that age. And if anyone has any questions, they can get in touch with you.
Yep.
I would imagine that kids, if there is an issue too, hopefully they have maybe a minister, a rabbi, or a priest that they could call and maybe discuss.
Yep.
A youth group minister or something like that.
Yeah, those are all great avenues to talk about it.
Yeah, because that can be so destructive to kids at this point in their life. And I think there's some harassment sometimes with adults, not just children.
You're right. There are. Just unfortunately, I deal mostly with the kids. So.
Yes. Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming to our program today and really shining a little light on this problem that we are seeing more often than not. Thank you for taking the time from your busy day.
Thanks for having me.
And thank all of you for watching Anderson Community Television. This is Carol Donahue, your host, saying farewell, and we'll see you next time.